We have in theater, we have a BFA in acting, and those are students who are studying to be professional actors. It is a conservatory style program in a liberal arts environment. We also have a BFA in dance, and that's the same thing, students who are very serious about those disciplines as a profession. We also have a BA in dance for students who want to study dance and get a degree in dance, but may or may not go into dance professionally. And we have a BA with concentrations in directing, design, theater studies, theater and community, and writing for performance on the theater side, and those students are going to go into those disciplines. Then we also have an MA PhD in theater and performance studies. So we're a giant department filled with all kinds of disciplines that revolve around theater and dance. Theater and dance are creative disciplines, and whether you're studying to be a professional in those disciplines or you're doing it to become a better citizen, it serves both purposes, where it is the study of human nature. Well, if you're going to major in theater, if you are studying in the BFA acting program, you're going to have classes in voice and movement and acting every day. You're going to be rigorously performing in plays, and you're going to be basically working from 9 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night every single day and taking classes in liberal arts. If you are studying in one of our concentrations, directing, design, theater studies, theater and community, or writing for performance, you will spend probably about 60% of your time in those disciplines and the other 40% in liberal arts. The same would apply in dance. If you're doing the BFA, most of your time is going to be spent in the conservatory style training. And if you're doing the BA, that would flip a little bit. You'd have some of the conservatory training and then a lot of liberal arts. In the fields of theater and dance, we have theater and performance or theater and dance as performance. We also have theater studies and dance studies. So if you're participating in the theater studies and dance studies areas of the department, then you're going to be doing more in a scholarly vein. And you might work with a professor. For example, one of our professors, William Davies King's, oh shoot, sorry, I'm fumbling all over. For example, one of our professors, Davies King, was the editor of the Eugene O'Neill Review, and he had one of our graduate students working with him on that review, helping him to edit, perhaps doing a little bit of writing. So that's a way in which faculty and students can work together on research. In the practice side of the department, meaning myself as a director, one of our professors is a scenic designer, another a playwright, and we take students with us when we go to work professionally, and they can work as my assistant director or as an assistant designer or as a dramaturg on a play with our playwriting professor. And so those kinds of experiences are really, they're learning experiences and research experiences combined in one. I feel quite gratified when I can bring a student along with me when I go to direct a play at a regional theater. I've done that a number of times, and one of the great things is bringing students from California who've only known California to the Midwest. And my favorite was I brought one of my students to Minneapolis. She'd never really been to Minneapolis, and you may know that that's in Minnesota and very cold. But it is gratifying when a student can see professionals working and get, to me, that's some of the best experience that you can get, best learning experiences out there. it's sort of in the apprenticeship model where you're watching professionals at work, you're being involved, being a part of the production, and seeing it in action, something that you learn about in a classroom, but then you take it into action. I feel like those experiences have really mattered to my students and therefore mattered to me. I wish that students would come to the first class with great openness and curiosity. And if they don't come with that, that's something we'll talk about on day one of trying to create. I try to create an environment where we're saying, we don't know all the answers. I don't know all the answers. We're going to discover a lot of things together. And I always say to my students, you know, whatever we're doing in class, it's one way of doing it. If I'm teaching a directing class or I'm teaching an acting class, I'll say, this is one way, this is how I've learned to do it, and I offer that to you. And if at the end of 10 weeks you think, I don't really want to use any of that, you could throw it all out. But while you're in the classroom, please use it and try it. And I think coming into class with that kind of openness and curiosity and willingness to try makes our job as professors much easier and more fun. I am so lucky because in my field I get to do exciting things all the time. I'm a director, and I've had the opportunity to work on brand new plays and work on Shakespeare and kind of everything in between. But one of the most exciting things is that I run a program right here at UCSB called Launchpad, which is a new play development program and where we bring in professional writers to work with our students and create new plays. And one of the plays that we created through a process over a period of years is called A Train. It's written by one of my colleagues and a professor here, Annie Torsiglieri, and she also stars in it. But originally, when we brought it into Launchpad, it was a 9-person play. And we worked on it with wonderful students and guest artists, and we found that it was just terrific as a big ensemble piece, and we did it a couple of different ways, a couple different times like that. And then finally we said, you know, it probably could really work as a one-person play. And so we have done it now as a one-person play. We took it to New York this last year, and it won the Best Production at the United Solo Festival. But we could not have done that without all the work of the students who had helped develop that project along the way. Another exciting project we did this year was called Staging the Daffy Dame, a new play. And that play was 6 student actors and 2 guest artists. And that play is now going on to another venue, Theater Squared, which is in Arkansas. It's going to have a workshop there. So one of the most exciting things for me is taking a play, developing it here, and seeing it go on and have a professional life afterwards. Probably the most difficult thing about our discipline is rejection. Especially, I'm really speaking more for people who are going to do it as a profession, and particularly if you're an actor or a dancer and you're trying to get a job. But it's really true for directors and designers and playwrights as well, that there are not as many jobs as there are people always. And everything is very competitive. And I think learning how to trust yourself and believe in yourself, that's the hardest part. Because most of the time, you're going to not get the job. And it's during those times when you are rejected where you have to pull yourself back up and say, I have confidence, I can do this, I believe in myself. And that's really tough going. And that's why you find that, like, we'll train actors, we'll have extremely talented actors, but in 10 years, some of them won't be acting anymore. Not because of their talent, not because of their discipline, but because that is so hard. The staying power is really where it's at, and that's really difficult to do. I have always taught my whole career. I did not aspire to be a professor at all. I started as a professional actor, then moved into directing, and was then working on becoming an artistic director at various theaters around the country. And then I was invited by a friend of mine to apply for this job. I have always taught all the way through my career. But this particular job, they really wanted to have a professional director as part of the faculty. And I applied for the job thinking, oh, I'll stay here a year or two and see how it goes. And I've been here for 14 years. So it was not, I didn't set out to become a professor, but I have loved my time at UCSB. It has given, one of the great things about UCSB is that it is a Research One university, which means that we have to do research in our field, which for me is directing plays. And I've had this great opportunity to develop plays here and also go out and work elsewhere. And it's just been a perfect, and to bring my students into both of those worlds so that they are also growing and learning as I'm growing and learning. And so it's been a great joy to become a professor, something I never thought I would be.